So you've got a business doing 500,000 to 1 million in EBITDA, and you want to sell your business. Who is the buyer for your business? So the good news is that where your business is at right now, between 500,000 in EBITDA to 1 million in EBITDA, is that you will have interest from two main types of buyers. The first main type of buyer is a large, small business which is looking to acquire to grow their existing business. The second type of buyer is a private equity group who is buying you as a add-on. Now, I must admit, there will be a smaller number of private equity groups who are looking to buy you as an add-on business. However, at 500,000 to 1 million in EBITDA range, there are private equity buyers who are looking for that. They're normally working within the lower middle market range. So they've already got a platform business which is doing 2 million to 5 million in EBITDA, and they're trying to buy businesses which are doing between 500,000 and 1 million. And you fit that, so of course the private equity will just essentially hook you in and add you into their existing business, their platform business. So that's good news. What's the difference between these two types of buyers? Number one is that when you have a business which is looking to expand, right, and they're looking to buy a business which is doing between 500,000 and 1 million, they're probably doing between 500,000 and 1 million themselves, right? So they're looking to double their business size by acquiring yours. Now, that type of business buyer can definitely complete the sale. They can definitely buy from you. Normally, it's a competitor that's looking to buy a business like yourself, but there's a couple of considerations that you need to think about before you speak to these buyers, and they are credible buyers. So the first thing is that these buyers normally have investors or lenders that will give them the money to be able to buy your business. And when you have a business which is using a lender, which is using investors to buy your business, then they can only pay you a certain amount of money up front, because they're ultimately working with the covenants that are given to them by the lenders and by the investors. So normally what that looks like is that they will be able to pay you a maximum of normally about 70% of the total valuation of your business. So let's say that the valuation of your business is sitting at 2.5 million, for argument's sake, right? So they will only be able to pay your around about, I don't know exactly what 70% is. You know what, just give me a second, let me work it out. I should have picked an easier number, right? So 2.5 million, 70% of that is they'll be able to pay you about 1.75 million, right, on day one. And then the remainder, 750,000, I could do that off the top of my head, right? The remainder 750,000 is then going to come to you over a period of time. And that's normally done through either an earnout or that's done through deferred consideration. And essentially what they both mean is that you'll be paid over time after the business deal has been done, after you've actually sold your business. But the good news is you get most of that money up front, about 70%. So that's when you're selling to another business who is looking to expand. And as long as you have confidence in the business, so look, you're in the marketplace and you've been operating for the last 10, 15, 20 years, whatever it may be, and you know who your sort of competitors are, you know the different players in the marketplace, and as long as the person who's looking to buy you or the business that's looking to buy you is also similar, known to you, they don't have a bad reputation, maybe you've even met the owner a few times, you've met some of the key players a few times, you will generally know this person, or you'll know the team, and you'll know the business, and you will have some confidence, or you'll have some thoughts from beforehand with regards to that business. And you can use maybe some industry contacts as well and say, right, do you know these guys? Have they bought businesses before? How do they operate? What they're planning to do? What are their plans? And they will be very open with you, right? So when you're talking to the CEO of that business, when you're talking to the main people in that business, they will be very open with you with regards to their plans of what they want to do with your business. They're not going to give you the entire business plan, but what they're going to say is that, look, we like your business, obviously. We want to buy it because we want to expand for X, Y, Z reasons. And as long as you're happy with those X, Y, Z reasons, then there's no reason why you wouldn't entertain that conversation. Depending on how aggressively they're looking to expand, you may be able to stretch out a little bit more money from them with regards to the valuation of your business. However, what will normally end up happening is that they've only got a certain amount of cash that they can put in themselves, because remember, they're still a growing business, so they will have some cash constraints there. They'll only have a certain amount that's being given to them by the lender or the investor, so that amount will normally stay the same. So you might stretch it from 1.75 million to a maximum of 2 million or something, right? But when you're looking to increase the valuation of your business and get more for the sales price of your business for someone like that, then normally it's about the amount you're going to be paid over time. And there are factors that you can put into place, and there's certain securities that you can put into place to ensure that you'll get that money, and you will be able to secure it against something. That's not the place for this video because each deal is different. But you might be able to take the valuation of your business from 2.5 million to 3 million or 3.5 million, maybe even 4 million, but you will be paid over time for the remainder of that balance. So that, and the other thing about when you're selling to your competitors or you're selling to another business that's looking to expand, they normally don't want you to remain in the business. So if you're looking for a clean break, meaning, clean break means that you might be involved for anything from 3 months up to a year in the business, and then after that you're done, right? And a year is pushing it, right? So really and truly, you're looking around about the 3 to 6 month time, and then you're done from the business completely. Then that's the kind of person that you want to be selling your business to, because you will be able to walk away. Now, that's where the contrast comes to a private equity firm. So private equity, they've got a lot more money to give to you, right? And if you want to be able to sell your business for a higher valuation and ultimately take more cash up front, so for argument's sake, let's say that your business is, the true market value of your business is 2.5 million, but you've been able to negotiate with the private equity firm. Instead of only getting 1.75 million or 2 million up front, you'll be able to extract a lot more on day one from private equity, because private equity have to write checks. They have to write the money, because they're investors, they're limited partners, give them money and say, right, you have to go and use that money now, and you have to use that money to be able to increase that, right? Of course, it's an investment. So when they write that check, they might be able to write you a 2.5 or 3 million check on day one, and you only have to maybe wait for the million for only 1 year. And the other thing about selling to the business there is that you might need to wait anything from 2 to 5 years to get all of your money. When you're talking to private equity, you can really reduce that time. But your business has to be able to be attractive to private equity in the first place for them to entertain that. So of course, business size, meaning EBITDA size, revenue size, your systems and your structures in place, but you have to be attractive to them, and then they will pay you the money for it. So that's good news about private equity. The other consideration that you have when you've got a business which is doing 500,000 to about 1 million in EBITDA is that you really have to be able to sell your story to the private equity firm. When you're selling to the other businesses, they normally know who you are, but your presentation of your business becomes really important when you're selling to private equity. So the way that private equity works is that they normally have a platform business, right? That business is normally doing 5 million plus in EBITDA at where your stage is. And then they're looking to buy other businesses that they can bolt on. What I mean by the story is that, is your customer profile going to complement their current business? So that what they are, they're EBITDA aggregators. So they're just going to put businesses together. But it has to be able to make sense. So let's take the example of a marketing company. So let's say you are doing Google Ads, and their platform business that they have, they do websites and they do SEO, right? So they don't do local ads or Google Ads, but they do websites and SEO. Your business, you do Google Ads, you're a sort of natural bolt-on to them, because what they can then do is that they can sell Google Ads via your expertise to all of their existing customers, right? Because their customers already get website services and SEO services from them, from the platform business. And when they inject Google Ads into their business, they can now cross-sell all of that. And that's ultimately what they do, and that's how they create lots of value. Where maybe their existing customers are paying them, anything from 2,000 to 5,000 a month for SEO services, you coming in and offering, or them coming in, buying your business and then offering Google Ad services, they add on another 2, 3, 4, 5,000, depending on the size of those customers they are per month to each ticket size. So then where their one customer was maybe valued at 3,000, now that same customer is valued at 5,000. Where one customer was valued at 5,000, that same customer is now valued at 9,000 per month. So, and the lifetime value of that, you can do the maths on that, and that makes a huge difference on the bottom line of their business. So, what is your business? What's the story with regards to your business? What does it sell, and how can it complement the private equity firm that is buying the business? If you have a business which is location based, geography based, demographics even, right? Then how can your geography complement the geographies that they currently support in their business? So let's say, for example, you're a dentist and they've got dentist firms, and let's say you dominate the dentist market in the East Midlands. So they dominate the market in, for example, the north of the country, but they want to start coming down south. And East Midlands falls into down south for them. You have a dentist firm, maybe you've got 6 dentist firms in the East Midlands, then by them buying you, they now have the East Midlands market. Then they'll go and buy someone in the West Midlands market. Then they'll go and buy someone in the market just between Oxford, Cambridge, and these kinds of areas. So what kind of story can you tell about your business? And that needs to be really clear, not only in when you're talking to private equity, but when you're presenting the documents. And that's why you really need to work with an M&A firm that really understands how to present that. And that we work with business owners all the time at Middle Market Business Sales. So click the link in the description. We can have a confidential conversation about your business and how we can make your business more valuable to buyers like other businesses or private equity. But it really needs to be in the documents that are presented. So a lot of these business brokers out there, they just produce a really light, call it information memorandum, but you really need a detailed one. So it's not just about one paragraph or maybe 3 paragraphs about your positioning in the marketplace. It's about having a good detailed, a good couple of pages that gives the right information with regards to what your positioning is and what your value statement is, not only to your customer, but what it means to them if they were to buy you. And we do that with our clients all the time. So I was talking about how private equity might want you to stay on. I was kind of giving the contrast between a business which is already operating, looking to grow. They generally want you to move on. Private equity, they could do one of 2 things, especially because you're a bolt-on acquisition, is that they could say, right, we don't need your services, thank you very much, and you've got clean break there. Or they could be like, okay, do you want to come and work for us? Right? If you want to come and work for us, then they'll offer you a package. You essentially become an employee of the private equity firm. Now, I don't know how that sounds to you. For some people, that's a nightmare because you've been a business owner for the last 20 years and you've been your own boss, and can you answer to other people? But if you're young and you still got drive, then what you will end up in, you'll be in a team which is actually operating at a higher level. Don't forget, when you're a bolt-on acquisition, then you are essentially being bolted onto a larger business, right? And if your goal is that you want to sort of operate at a higher level, a bigger business level, then that's a perfect place. It's an incubator for your skills, for your mindset, for your thought process, for your outlook on the business and your own industry. So that could be a really good thing. And the packages can be really, really attractive. So if, for example, currently, you'd be making 500,000 in EBITDA, let's say on the bottom end, you've been making 500,000 in EBITDA and you've been taking 200,000 out for yourself for the last few years, that's good. You've obviously had a good income for the last few years since you've been taking 200,000. But when you are going to work for private equity, they say, right, we'll continue to pay you 200,000, but your bonuses are this. And your bonuses can be wild because private equity, what they're looking for is that if you can add value, they will pay you for it. Those bonuses could be 200,000, 500,000 even, depending on what position you're working in that private equity firm. So when you're selling to private equity, it's not just about the price that you're going to get for your business itself, but it's also the package, if you're looking to stay on, that is the package that you're going to get thereafter. And you really need to look at that and the terms of that package and how long they want you to stay. that could be a second or third payout. The other thing about private equity is that you could do a rollover, and this is preferred by private equity. Normally they mandate it as part of the deal as well. If, for example, you are a bolt-on and you want to stay on. So what they will say, what that means is that, let's say, for example, your business is valued at 3 million, right? Your business is valued at 3 million. They say, right, we want you to roll over, for argument's sake, 20% equity. And what that means is that instead of you actually getting 3 million for your business, you'll get 2.4 million for your business, and the 600,000 of value will remain. Like you'll continue to own that stock, but then you'll be a stockholder, a shareholder in that larger business. And ultimately, what ends up happening is that when they sell, because when you're operating in this end of the market where you're a bolt-in for a platform company at the level that you're in, they will grow the business and ultimately sell on to another private equity firm, which is going to be a high level private equity firm. And your 600,000 in value that you've rolled over with the private equity firm, if the job is done correctly and they sell to the private equity firm, that 600,000 in value that you rolled over could be worth another 2.4 million. So it could be two paydays that you're having. One right now at 2.4 million that you've extracted from the sale of your business. You continue to work for the private equity firm. You've got your package that's going on there, right? Your income, your bonuses, whatever the package is that has been negotiated. And then when they sell on again to the other bigger private equity firm, then you've got your second payout that could be worth whatever, let's say another 2.4 million. So just by selling to private equity, you could actually have, 2, 3 good paydays. One payday when you sell your business, one payday, the package I'm talking about while you're working for the private equity firm, and then the third payday when they go to sell the business to the other larger private equity firm. So that's another thing to consider. And that's quite a unique position to be in. But again, is your business in the right position to be attractive to private equity? So they are the two main options that you have when you're selling your business and doing anything from 500,000 to a million in EBITDA. You could sell to a company which is growing, or you could sell to private equity. Whichever option you choose, just make sure it's hitting the right goals for why you want to sell your business. Business owners sell their businesses for different reasons. If you want a clean exit because you're immigrating or you've got health concerns, you need to make sure that you're clear with that messaging, you're clear with that the reasons as to why you want to sell from the outset, right? But if you're willing to grow and you're willing to join another company, then let them know that you want to do that. So whatever reason it is that you want to sell, we've got these options available for you. So we work with clients in the UK to ensure that you can sell your business for maximum value. And that's what we talk about on this YouTube channel, on how you can sell your business for maximum value, how you can exit your business, exit the day-to-day. Click the video that's popping up, and I'll see you in the next video.